The Legend of Zelda wasn't the first game of its kind, but it was the one to popularize the type of action-adventure, dungeon-solving gameplay the series is famous for. In its wake, plenty of other games have used Zelda as sort of a basis for what they want to be, the newest of which comes from Skipmore over in Japan, called Kamiko. Kamiko is what you get when you take Zelda and hypercharge everything. Based around Japanese Shinto beliefs, players pick from 3 different characters, race through 4 separate dungeons, defeating bosses, and restore peace to the land. Kamiko's art goes for a simplistic pixel art style. Although there's details in the levels themselves, characters and enemy sprites are very basic. Kamiko doesn't quite seem to be hitting a nostalgia angle so much as it's just a stylistic choice. It's certainly colorful and doesn't shy away from extra effects for lighting, nor is it really tilted towards calling itself bit anything either, which is nice. It's not something that'll blow you away, but it's not trying to either. By far the best looking things in the game are the bosses. They contain the most detail, with the final bosses standing out against the more ancient, faceless entities you'll fight up to that point. The music isn't much different from the graphics in that it aims for a more chiptune, old-school approach, while not necessarily clinging to any grips of the past. Most of the tracks you'll hear are pretty chill, nothing too excited or overstated either. Once again, the bosses own this section, with the boss music being the best track in the game by a long shot. There's not too much more to say about the music, however there are some sound effects that stick out. That's probably a red flag right there, since sound effects aren't something that come up, like, ever on Neo reviews. And that's because it is. I don't know if it's my copy or my Switch, but there's certain sounds that sound a pitch or 3 too high, and are almost ear-piercingly awful to hear. They don't seem to be consistent either, so I can't decide if it's the same sound being overlapped or if there's just something up with the game. Either way, be advised if you play with headphones in. So like we discussed earlier, Kamiko takes after Zelda pretty heavily. The game consists of 4 dungeons to blaze through, and that's it. No overworld to explore or extra weapons to grab, just simple, straightforward, solve them and go. Each dungeon has 4 gates that need to be broken in order for the player to access the bosses and defeat them. The 3 characters you choose from all have different means of attack, but outside of their appearance, that's pretty much it. With that being said, in a game where your main buttons are attack and run, when one of those changes, it heavily affects how you play the game. The first character attacks with a sword and has a charge move that allows her to use a spin attack for a brief period of time. She's the most like Link, and in turn the one that makes the game play the most like Zelda. The second uses a bow and arrow and is probably the most fun to play. While she can't fire and move at the same time, it's fun to pick off enemies from a distance while also being able to fire fast enough if enemies try to swarm you. Her charge attack fires a barrage of homing arrows that take out just about everything in sight and is easily the most useful. The last is a mixture of the first 2. A chick that tosses a shield like a boomerang while also attacking with a dagger while the shield is airborne. Out of all the characters, she requires the quickest thinking, since the dagger does very minimal damage and is basically there to ensure you aren't defenseless when your shield is on the move. Unfortunately, her special is the worst, as it causes her shield to swing around the stage and hit things within a certain radius. Most enemies will be missed by them simply moving out of the way. While there aren't special paths or differences in the campaigns for the 3 characters, the way that they play are enough to make you play through the game multiple times, at least once with each character. And that's not even a slightly daunting task either. Kamiko is a brief stroll before it's over in every sense of the word. Your first playthrough will likely take you 45 minutes tops, with subsequent playthroughs sliced down to just 30 minutes or less. And Kamiko makes a point to let you know this too. Your time is capped throughout every stage and the entire running time of the game. It plays fast because it is fast. This is a game built for speedrunning. There's not too terribly much to do besides some unlockables after clearing the game with all 3 characters, either besides speedrunning. And if that's your gig, you're going to love Kamiko. It's a game built with a short arcade experience in mind, not an hours-long RPG. Special attacks, unlocking gates and chests, pretty much most of your actions beyond running and attacking all require using your combo meter. The meter is replenished by defeating waves of enemies that constantly respawn at every location, ensuring that if you stay alive, your meter will stay plenty full. Both the meter and your health can be increased by finding and unlocking chests with upgrades. Combat is simple, but very fun. The pace keeps you on your toes, and being able to run circles around your enemies while narrowly dodging danger rules. The only real downer with Kamiko's gameplay is how it handles carrying keys and orbs, both of which are required to unlock doors and passageways. What's irritating about both of these is it requires players to carry said object over their head where they need to go. But you can't run or attack, meaning you're defenseless. It's not at all unlike Zelda, but in Zelda, you can place things you need to carry down, beat up anything that's causing you problems, then grab it and keep moving. In Kamiko, if you try to drop what you're holding to attack or you get hit, the item breaks and you have to start over from where it came from. There isn't an overabundance of instances where getting from point A to point B with an orb or a key is overly frustrating, but the ones that are, especially in the last dungeon, do stick out and could be detrimental to those attempting to get the best time possible. Normally, this would be the part where we'd say that Kamiko's charm and fun gameplay doesn't outweigh the fact that it costs $5? Wait, what? Yeah, Kamiko is, as of this review, the cheapest game on the Switch's eShop, and that sort of budget price makes the concise experience completely okay. Better than okay. It's a really great game, actually. Busting through the dungeons is satisfying, and more importantly, Kamiko has something that's exceedingly rare in indie games these days: structure. Skipmore made a game that focuses largely on speedrunning and isn't hindered by crappy RNG mechanics or randomly generated levels. It's something that was crafted for players to gun through as fast as possible in a genre that few games allow you to do so. Kamiko is a blast, and at the price of a cheap lunch, it's pretty tough to pass up.